Hello BookTube, it's Ben here from the History Fellow channel. Here today with a book haul from Pen and Sword Books. So I'd like to say a big thank you to Rosie for these books. Most of them, there's about 8 I think, and we've got books from the First World War, the Second World War, the Victorians, local English history. And yeah, that's about it, I think. So on we go. Right, the first book is called The Muse Heights, or The Muse Heights to the Armistice, written by Martin Ott, and it's part of the Battleground series from the First World War. It says the American Expeditionary Forces in the Great War, and it's basically like, it's kind of like a nice neat small size, but it's packed with tons of information, lots of photographs from the actual battles and expeditions, and also modern day photos as well, so that when it's a bit like a battlefield guide, so that for those that like going to visit battlefields and seeing what happened in the past, it's a bit like if you were over in America and you were visiting Gettysburg or Vicksburg, somewhere like that, then these are like the battlefield site books that you'd buy to find out all the information and all the details, and they're specifically published for those battles. But they're great books, very handy. I haven't actually been to any of these sites, mainly because most of them are in France, but they're certainly very popular, and the information in them is really good. So that's that one. Then we've got a book called, it's in a series called History Snapshots, and this one's called Not So Virtuous Victorians, and that's written by Michelle Rosenberg and published by Pen and Sword Books. It looks like a quick, easy read, but it's kind of like this particular book's a bit like the darker side of Victorian life with regards to men and women and sexuality and that sort of thing. So that's $12.99 by Pen and Sword Books, but it does look quite interesting. That first book I read, or I showed you, was also by Pen and Sword Books. Next we move on to a book by Greenhill Books. It's called The Fallschirm, the Panzer Division, Hermann Goering, a history of the Luftwaffe's only armoured division, 33 to 45. This was kind of labelled as Hermann Goering's personal division, that he controlled where they went, what they did, that sort of thing. It says, written by Lawrence Patterson and foreword by the historian Richard Overy. He's quite an interesting fellow and also writes on World War II history. So this looks like it's going to be a really good read, and I find the Greenhill books are quite comprehensive in their detail. So if you ever see a Greenhill book, make sure you buy it, because they're really good. Very detailed and informed. The next one is the local history one, part of the Your Towns and Cities in World War II series, and that's York at War, 39 to 45, and written by Craig Armstrong. one of my favourite pen and sword authors. And basically this series looks at individual towns around the UK or Britain, and it basically tells you all the local news during the World War II, and tells you what went on, anything specific, how recruitment went, how they survived the bombing and the Blitz and that sort of thing. And it's really a good read, an informative read, and especially if you're into local history. It doesn't really cover the main part of the war or the main headlines, but it talks about how the main things that happened affected people locally. That was also published by Pen and Sword Books. But also we have here a change of reading. This one's by Seaforth Publishing. Sorry, it's got a nice shine on it, this cover. This is the Fleet Air Arm and the War in Europe, 39 to 45, and basically looks at the Fleet Air Arm throughout the war. And that's written by David Hobbs, published by Seaforth Publishing. Now I read another book written, I think, by David Hobbs as well. I think this time last year, I think, called Taranto, which was spectacularly detailed and really was comprehensive and a really good read. So I'm going to look forward to this one. It's got, if I just read the bit from the back. For the first time, this book tells the story of how naval air operations evolved into a vital element of the Royal Navy's ability to fight a three-dimensional war against both the Kriegsmarine and the Luftwaffe. The Fleet Air Arm and the War in Europe completes David Hobbs' much-praised 6-volume series, chronicling the operational history of British naval aviation from the earliest days to the present. So again, this is another part of a series, and I've read the previous book, and I can honestly say is they're a well-detailed read and very informative. Hopefully you can see that without the glint from the light. And the next one, this one is about Queen Victoria, Her Life and Legacy by Paul Kendall. Paul Kendall's also written another couple of books in this similar vein. It's usually about 100 items or 100 places connected to one person. And his previous books, I think it was Charles Dickens and Henry VIII he did. I've read both of them, and they're really good books because he kind of looks at places that don't really get the headlines, or maybe they hadn't spent long at that particular place, but they're often important places to the subject matter. But it's a really interesting read, and I'm hoping this one's going to be just as good. And that book is published by Frontline Books. But if you fancy any of these books, you can just go to the link below this video. I should put a link to Pen and Sword Books, and you should be able to get them from there. Just type the name of the book in the search bar, and you probably get loads of other books as well, similar to it as well, if you're interested in that subject. Right, the next book is an Images of War book, another one I like. The Waffen SS in Normandy, 44, written by Ian Baxter. I would say usually a light read, mainly because half of the book is full of photos. But it has the photos, but it also has the support and text with it as well. And these authors are experts in their area of history research. They know what they're talking about, and the text that accompanies the pictures or the photographs are excellent and really do sell the book really well. I did say a light book, but often I think the past few books have been about prison camps and execution gangs and things like that, and the subject matter hasn't been a light subject, although getting through the book is quite a quick one. But these books they're very good, but they take about, you get through it in an evening or an afternoon, or maybe a couple at the most, but they are really good and well worth the read. That's published by Pen and Sword Books. And then the last one is a new one for me, although it's on a similar theme. This is called, another shiny book, The Battles of El Alamein, and this is part of the Battlecraft series, The End of the Beginning. And that is written by Ben Skipper. Basically it looks at the Battle of El Alamein, but it looks at the weapons and the warcraft of that particular part of the war, and it gives you a good demonstration of all the planes that might have been involved. But where this book is specifically for model makers, it's really good to see all the pictures and the designs and, you know, the theatres of war and the camouflage. But the accompanying text that comes with it tells you the story of that particular battle, and therefore it makes the book really informative. And it's a new one, this one. It's part of the Battlecraft series. I've reviewed some from the plane series and the tank craft series as well, so they're good books. But those books you find are specifically for model makers. Anyway, that's all the books I've had today. They've just come through the post about an hour ago. So anyway, hopefully you enjoyed the video and you found it informative. As I said, there'll be a link to the Pen and Sword website below this video. If you've got any comments, any suggestions, things like that, please feel free to drop them below. And don't forget to give the video a thumbs up if you don't mind, it all helps. Thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you very soon for another video.